this thing on? Because it's getting ready to be on.
Hello and welcome to Bell Ringer. My name is Greg. Your guest name today is Thomas Beauford, President and CEO of the Buffalo Urban League. We talk about the Buffalo Urban League's programs, of which there are many and touching many parts of people's lives. We drill down specifically into their workforce development work, and we talk about Thomas's somewhat new tenure as the President and CEO of the Buffalo Urban League, both now and going forward. Thanks so much for listening.
So the Buffalo Urban League is a community and economic empowerment organization founded in 1910, but in Buffalo has been here since 1927.
And how are you doing some of that? Talk about, some of your programs. I've been on the website, a ton today, researching and lots of great stuff. So tell the audience a bit about how you're actually, making that happen.
Oh, absolutely. The website is great, but, really can't encapsulate all that we do here. I will tell you that we have a 5-point empowerment strategy that looks at education and youth empowerment, economic empowerment, health and quality of life empowerment, civic engagement and leadership empowerment, and then lastly, civil rights and racial justice empowerment. All things that are top of mind now and are critical to our local community and beyond. So, as far as we deliver those through our programming, I will tell you that our programming impacts is multi-generational. We have a foster care and adoption agency that touches, all the way from infants, and then followed by a lot of our youth programming. We have Adopt a School, we have after school programming, and we also have out of school programming for youth who are not currently enrolled at school, but we help them with their high school equivalency, help them with workforce development, soft skills training, and just career pathing. So we have that we're proud to do. And, that covers mostly high school youth. We have an Adopt a School program where we're actually in some of the local Buffalo public and charter schools. So we have a presence there. And, we do a lot of mentoring, scholarship work, as well as we host we serve as the administrators for the Erie County Summer Youth Employment Program. Beyond that, from a demographic standpoint, we run a full service senior center, as well as a food pantry. And then we also have a housing division that looks at anything from first-time home ownership to housing counseling, to seeking residency, improving housing conditions, budgeting, and all types of financial literacy programs we host through that. And then from an economic standpoint, we also do small business development programming, mostly technical. So not a lending arm, but we're very active in that space. And I'll get to workforce development, but I do want to also say from a health and wellness perspective, we have a cadre of community health workers who are out looking at anything from mental health to wellness, trying to avert or get people to take more advantage of well care and well visits so that they don't move on to chronic diseases. So we have a whole team that's deployed doing that work in the Western New York, throughout the Western New York community. And then, a large part of what we do in our economic development is also assisting with business development outside of the programs, partnering with other organizations, established organizations in that field, and just job development, either through the training programs we have or connecting the community that we formed a relationship of trust with, helping them along the pipeline to get to avail some of the resources that already exist.
So I want to dig deeper into that last part, the
Sure.
workforce development part. You know, you're partners with the Northern Workforce Training Center and many other community organizations throughout Western New York, um, especially right now with current hiring struggles. And a very popular story in the news is companies struggling to find those people within that perceived problem. Where do you see opportunity for your organization and the communities that you serve to find opportunity out of that through your workforce development programs?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, a lot of this, where we are right now was amplified, of course, by COVID and some of the conditions that were there. People had to pivot from what they were doing. Maybe some of them had businesses, some of them were in jobs, some of them still are facing challenges with childcare. So many situations have caused people to take pause. Maybe from a health perspective, or not quite ready to come back into a full in-person environment. So those challenges exist. I will say, as we work through COVID, just getting through the initial stages of it, and having to be innovative and also to keep everyone safe. One of the things that came out of that was a lot of collaborative effort between not only Buffalo Urban League, but many other organizations, where we said we need to tackle this thing together. So we had to work together to kind of at the onset of COVID, and now as we're easing out of it, and have people have had the experience of it, people have had to make certain adjustments. How do we get people and the economy back engaged? So we've been doing that. What we're doing is leveraging our trusted voice in the community, trying to understand, through some of the community health workers and the um, mental health, if you will, programming that we have, just really trying to understand what people's challenges are. With all the program, we're throwing everything at it, understanding what people's challenges are, meeting them where they stand, helping them move through that to see how can we help you get back, or are there any adjustments that you need to make? Are there any concerns that you have that we could help allay, or resources that we can provide? So we're working with other institutions, educational institutions, businesses, other community partners, to really move people through that process. And then again, whatever those issues that may arise, or the challenges that they may face, we're not only leveraging the resources we have, but those of our partners to get the economy re-engaged and get people back into the workforce in a place where they feel safe, and they can resume their livelihood.
With a workforce development program, how do you encourage folks that, be it because of COVID or a ton of different things that could have been long before COVID, that have been either out of the workforce or underemployed? How do you reach those people and convince them to join a workforce development program, and then participate in what follows, hopefully being employment, and kind of climbing that ladder from there?
Right. Well, Buffalo has been resilient in this space before. I don't know. There's always some fallout from it, but we changed from this large manufacturing hub into kind of a service industry and a more tech-related industry over the years. And some people had to retool, had to have retraining, and then some of them, it's not the transition from one type of employment to another is not always easy. Sometimes, they need an organization like the Urban League, who, through all of our programming that we've done over the years, have become a trusted voice. And when we co-sign something, when we meet people and say, hey, these opportunities are available, while it may seem a little daunting, we've been successful in helping them move through, and not only directing them towards resources, but also providing wraparound services that help them kind of navigate through other challenges they might have, or other hesitancies they might have for that matter. So, it's really getting out there and meeting people and saying, I know this is not something familiar to you, maybe something that looks like it, might not be built for you, nothing that you've ever done before, but this is where the economy is going, this is where the jobs are going, and if anything we can do to help you retool, connecting them with opportunities, and then providing them the support to avail those opportunities. That's where we're concentrating our energies. And I'd also say that the Buffalo Urban League is part of a national affiliate network under the National Urban League. So we have about 80 or so affiliates across the country. So we're also able to leverage those resources as well to bring any information we have to the local community, and leverage best practices from other areas. Some of the topics we talked about are not only affecting the Buffalo economy or affecting us locally, but it's a national challenge, maybe a global challenge in some cases. So we do have networks beyond the local area where we're looking at, how other people address the situations, and we're bringing those resources to bear as well.
We also have a very active young professionals group, and they've been engaged with our organization in our efforts to better welcome newcomers to the region, and some ways that we can make for a more welcome wagon for those newcomers. Tell us a bit about that young professionals group, and then for folks listening interested, how they could get involved.
Sure. So we have actually 3 auxiliary units, if you will, that we use to advocate on behalf of the Buffalo Urban League, an extension of the league, if you will. The first one starting with our Little Leaguers, all right, which are grade school age children that we introduce to community service and advocacy, and different forms of empowerment. We start them young, and they move on through grade school up through high school, introducing them to various programming. And then the young professionals are basically in the demographic, or the age is about 21 until age 40. And then we have another group called the Urban League Guild, which is kind of 40 plus. And so we try to move people all the way. They have I will tell you that there are CEOs, not myself, but other CEOs at other affiliates that have been little leaguers and have moved through this process. So they're lifetime Urban League advocates. But I found that having just joined the Urban League here in this leadership position in 2020, excuse me, having just joined the Urban League in 2020, I knew that the young professionals is going to be a critical aspect. We've been around since 1927. Sometimes your mission can be perceived as stale or not relevant. The work you do, if you don't retool, if you don't have fresh voices, if you don't have fresh input, then what you're doing, even though it's well intent, may not be delivered through the right medium, may not reach the right audience. So in order for us to stay relevant, they're a key component, bringing new ideas, new energy, new resources, and just tapping us into the community in various ways. We have great leadership here. Some of them have moved through the program where they're actually getting into the to the guild kind of age range, but just some wonderful people. And I will also tell you that many of them actually serve on our board of directors. So not only are they doing the great work out in the community and leading and spearheading great events, creating so much positive energy, they're also part of the leadership, an important part of the leadership of the Buffalo Urban League. And I will tell you, I brag that our local young professionals also serve in national positions throughout the national organization. So we're very, very proud of that.
We talk a lot about and even a couple episodes of this podcast about the need to diversify the workforce, and especially at mid and high skilled positions and within leadership. You just touched on folks ascending from little leaguers up through the guild and kind of that, natural climb. But I'm sure, it also happens within each of these folks, companies and organizations, that they then, are young professionals and climb into leadership roles. So how does their involvement with you as they progress in their career maybe, open doors for those that maybe come behind them?
Well, the bad news is that we've had, years and years of historic and systemic racism that have been the cause of some of, the disconnect, have been the cause of, while some people may not have had the opportunities that they could have had. All right. So we know that has been the case, and in many ways continues to be the case. However, I'll say that there is a climate of change. There is a climate of, we want to make things different, largely from, corporate, from our local and national corporate leaders are saying, hey, we are vested in change here. And some of them are, anxiously looking for ways to do that in a very meaningful and a very deliberate way. So we're partnering with them, between our young professionals and the employees and the members of the Urban League, the vast network that we have. There's mentoring that goes on. There's training that goes on locally and at the national level. So we involve them, engage them in those opportunities. We support them locally. They're not employed by the Buffalo Urban League. They have their own careers. So we help them with advancement there, giving them opportunities to attend seminars and, different type of engagement that will be, help assist them in their career. And also we have formed great relationships with senior leadership at these institutions and organizations as well. So, when we get an opportunity to advocate for them, we showcase the work that they've done, not only at their, in their current roles at the companies at which they're employed, but the work that they're doing outside. We make sure that we put them place them prominently in front of that leadership to understand what they're doing outside of their work roles.
So you're somewhat newer to the role. And when did you start? Was it last?
I started in August of 2020.
Okay. So you came in at a busy time. I had heard you mention in a different interview, you came right in, there was the census and then the election kind of back to back as two, bigger priorities to tackle right away. Now that you have some distance from that and have been able to settle in, obviously, you listed a ton of the programs that you're active in and touch people's lives in so many different ways, really kind of across the board. What are your priorities as the leader of the organization?
Sure. Well, again, I came in at a very, very challenging time. Some people would say, why would you do that now? The majority of my career actually has been in financial services. I'm pretty much a career banker. And that's what actually moved me to Western New York. And I've been at a few of the local institutions here, but over 20 years in banking. But also, I spent a lot of time working in the community, giving, wanting to give back, impact people from underserved communities. So I had those things working all the time, kind of coexisting. And then this opportunity came where I felt I could do both, work in a leadership position, bring some of those transferable skills, some of what, I learned over the years at these leading in these other institutions, as well as my educational background, and bringing all that to bear in this environment. So, it's a wonderful opportunity to get to be here and serve in this way. I will tell you from a timing perspective, as I said, as soon as I walked in, we had the census. Only comes 10 years, at least the national one, but here it was the 10th year. The national election every 4 years, here it was, not to mention, some of the unrest, the civil unrest that we had, and COVID. So some of the work in terms of pivoting for COVID and being innovative had already been started by August, having, really kicked in really hard in the March and April timeframe where people just scrambling to know what to do. So some of it was, kind of the unwinding, which we're continuing to do. Getting people, how do we start to return back to work? What's our plan? Do we want to be half day? And then, mask or no mask, and then even evolving to vaccine, no vaccine, right? So really trying to move all of that through. So trying to do that while still learning the organization, understanding where we might best serve the community. Taking a look at all of our programming. They're all great things. We know they help, but we want to be in a place where we're using our resources, understanding the landscape, understanding what other partners are out there, and saying what are the things that we could do best, where we can put our energy and get the best return for the community. So we're going to be constantly looking at our programming and looking at spaces where we can win, get the best. We have the best resources. We can deliver the best outcomes and measurable outcomes for the community. And we're going to decide where we want to be. Certainly, some of our strengths and some of what this economy where we think we can add value is in the economic development. I think we're primed for that space. We have great partnerships there, great resources, both locally and nationally. And we want to leverage those things. Lots of programs here for small business development. However, some of them are even challenged with reaching the community and getting people engaged in the demographic that they want to impact. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel and recreate any of these programs, but maybe from approaching it from two perspectives. One is to look at the programs that already exist and understanding the initial points of entry, to say, are there barriers there that we can help maybe in some redesign of that, if the systems allow for it, to say, hey, these might not look like challenges here, but for the community that you're trying to, or the individual you're trying to engage, some of these things might be challenges. So educating there and trying to work with institutions and programs that already exist. At the same time, if there are challenges that actually or definitively need to be overcome, then we want to be able to maybe provide some bridge or some gap education, some gap wraparound services, something more preparatory to move people from where they are to be able to engage and take advantage of some of the programming opportunities that already exist. We've started that. We also want to be, act in some form of a business incubator, perhaps let other organizations, smaller organizations, leverage some of our administrative resources here, just to get them moved along, some form of an incubator. So we're trying to be in that space, more of a connector and a collaborator, not trying to develop brand new programs, but feed the programs that exist and enhance the programs that exist to the extent that we can.
Last big question, and then we always end on a blizzard round.
Sure.
But you've spent a lot of time within this community development space, both, in your banking career, as you said, kind of just on the side, and now in this role. So we've been asking most of our podcast guests is kind of the last big question, and I'll toss it to you. What makes you optimistic about the future of Buffalo?
Certainly. So, I'm always looking forward, or more than community development, I'm looking for community empowerment. What we want for the future of Buffalo is that individuals who have lived in the community, worked here, given their lives to it, watched it grow, raised their children here. Some of them haven't had the opportunity to participate in this great renaissance that's happening here in Buffalo. So, community development can happen, but, we want those people who have been in the neighborhoods to be vested and to have an equity stake in, not just watching cranes go up around them, or, not having their, the parking spaces available in front of their homes. We want them to have an equity stake. We want them to have a voice in how the community grows. We want their property values to grow along with the economy and the renaissance that's happening now. We want them to have value add from everything that's going on. And that's getting people involved, encouraging people to be their own advocates, making sure they have access to resources and information, involving them in the process as it go forward, so that, they become empowered through all of the, instead of community development and things happening around them, that they are an integral part of it, have a voice, and are participate to some extent in the outcomes. That's a win-win, and create generational wealth. So they're like everyone else, they want to see their families, everything they've invested in the community. They want to be able to see the fruits of that and enjoy the fruits of that as well.
Right. Thank you very much for your time and all of your work towards a lot of those goals that you just stated. Before I let you go, we always end with a couple hard-hitting journalistic questions, our Blizzard round. So Number one, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be?
Rocky Road.
All right. How about a book or TV show that you'd recommend?
The Soul of Black Folks, W.E.B. Du Bois.
Do you prefer a text or a phone call?
A phone call.
You prefer hiking or skiing?
Hiking.
Bills or Sabres?
Bills.
Last question, most important. Chicken wings, drumstick or flat?
Flats.
Thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Greg. It was a pleasure.
Bellringer is a podcast by Invest Buffalo Niagara, the region's privately funded, nonprofit marketing and economic development organization. Please rate this podcast, follow our social media channels, and read our blog at buffaloniagara.org for the best of Buffalo Niagara. Come grow your business with us.